Welcome back to the Grid Aces show. We got another episode coming in for y'all. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and turn on post noties. Show the boys some love, and we can get rolling, build this thing up. Road to 1,000 subscribers. So appreciate the love. We got an exciting episode today. We're going to talk, obviously, a lot's happening in the playoffs. We just wrapped up college football, and we're in the midst of the prime time of the NFL playoffs. So we're going to mainly focus on football. But first, Chase, how we feeling today?
Feeling good. This time of year, it makes me often, reflect on what was such an amazing and awesome NFL season, because although we're in the playoffs and it's awesome in these games, right? You can't have games that mean more, right? But, right, we're in this week where there's no Monday night football, no Tuesday night or no Thursday night football, no games on Saturday like we do towards the end. And then obviously we only get 2 games on Sunday. And it's like, what am I supposed to do with all my rest of my time? And there's only, in the next week, there's not even going to be a game next weekend. We'll have off. I mean, it'll be all the hype for the Super Bowl, but we're almost here towards the end. And, it just gets sad. I mean, but then I try to remind myself, obviously March Madness is right around the corner. I know you're obviously big into NBA. So you got the NBA
you gotta
playoffs.
get that league pass, man.
Right around the corner. I'm big into golf, so we got the Masters coming here soon. I got to get excited about other stuff, but just kind of sad because football, I mean, no better time of the year.
Yeah, I think all season we've kind of harped down on how fast it's gone, and it's very sad that we are here. But it's been an amazing year. Nobody could have predicted the way things have turned out, the way they are. We've had some crazy coaching changes. We've had some drama within the coaching, firing, hiring. We'll get a little bit into that in a minute. And then we have a crazy Final Four, if you will, for the NFL playoffs. We got Broncos, Patriots, and we've got Rams, Seahawks. So, beginning of the season, if you would have told me those were the 2 final teams, I would have called you crazy, right? Especially the Denver Broncos being there and the New England Patriots. The AFC side has been crazy, unpredictable. And what's your thoughts on our Final Four here, Chase? We had a crazy last weekend.
Yeah, I think it shows how awesome the NFL is. So ratings this year are up from any prior year. And it is, Bo Nix, we have Drake May, new upcomer, Sam Darnold, and then old man Matthew Stafford, right? And it's, the ratings are just through the roof. I think it just shows you what a winning product the NFL is. And why it's not rigged is because no matter what, the NFL wins, right? It's awesome to watch no matter what. Like, I'm hyped literally to just go see what Jarrett Stidham can do and if this Broncos defense can carry him.
Yeah, no, I agree. If it was rigged, we'd have a Bills-Patriots AFC matchup.
Yeah, we'd have Bills-Patriots. And then in the NFC, I mean, you'd probably have, the Niners probably would have made it all the way through. Maybe be going Niners-Rams or something. But yeah, pretty, it's a decent matchup. But yeah, preseason odds, I'm trying to think. Like the Patriots, they obviously won 4 games last season, right? And they haven't even lost 4 this year, right? So they only won 4 last year. I think they've only lost 3 so far this year. But they were kind of a lot of people's like pick to like do better. But I think most people thought like just like barely make the playoffs. The Broncos, I know they had a good year last year and people thought they'd take a step up, but it's just always hard when you're in the Chiefs side of things, right? And with the Bills and the Ravens and some other teams that have been there a lot. And then obviously Sam Darnold, nobody believed in them. I think they were picked to finish 3rd in their division, pretty much tied there with the Cardinals. It's almost like the Cardinals are making it. And then the Rams, I think that was, a lot of people could have saw that, but you got to remember the drama they had in the offseason where Matthew Stafford, remember, he didn't even practice in training camp. Like, remember, he had that back injury. He literally
there was so much drama around the Rams team
Yeah.
preseason, especially as far as fantasy goes, right? Are we drafting these guys here because of Matt Stafford? And
Yeah,
he's
we're
been
not sure if
phenomenal,
he's
obviously.
playing. Does Sean McVay still even want to be there anymore? And here we are, and it's Matthew Stafford. If I would have told you, hey, he has this whole back issue all off season, and he's going to win MVP and take his team to the NFC Championship game, right? You'd call me crazy preseason, right? Or hey, Sam Darnold's going to win 14 games with the Seahawks. You'd be like, there's no way. You kidding me? He's no better than
Just
Geno.
doing
They're
what
going to
he
win
did on the
9.
Vikings.
They're going to win like 9 games. And then the Broncos somewhat believable, but it's just tough when the Chiefs are in that same side of things. And the Patriots, obviously, crazy good story, but there's a reason Mike Vrabel's going to win Coach of the Year. There's a reason that the number 1 and number 2 in the MVP voting is going to be still playing, and that the number 1 defense, I guess probably number 2 defense, poor Texans had just an absolute gem of a performance from C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, let's get in a little bit of a recap here. So yeah, that Texans Patriots game, excuse me. We both came on here looking like clowns because we both sided with the Texans because against holy, I'm blanking.
You're talking about against the Steelers?
Thank you. Against the Steelers week 1, we saw, CJ Stroud put up an abysmal performance, and then they still got the job done. Now, CJ Stroud's been a somewhat productive quarterback come postseason, as far as stats go. And so we were like, dude, there's no way he does it again. And you could argue that he actually had a worse game against the Patriots.
I don't hate it. I will say, how Dan Orlovsky tore him apart and then apologized because he said 31 other quarterbacks would have won that game. But I will say, it is fun to tear people apart, and trust me, I'll do it. But I also like to make sure that we give a little bit of, context. That game had some pretty dicey weather. So
It
whenever you
was
see bad weather,
gross.
it's tough to throw the football. And so I'll give him some of that. But having, what was it? I saw a stat where it said he had 10 turnovers in the last 2 games, And then me being a serial Eagles lover, it's like Jalen Hurts in like 12 playoff games or whatever, 10 playoff games, only has 10 turnovers total. And whatever his bucket, CJ did it in 2 games back to back.
Yeah, so an abysmal performance by the Texans.
Horrible.
The defense didn't even look good either. You'd think in a game with weather like that, the defense would look outstanding. Maybe because of all the turnovers, they were exhausted. They've had to carry the team all season. So Patriots roll away pretty easy with that one, and Drake May and the boys looking scary.
I actually thought that the Patriots offense looked pretty bad for 3 quarters.
No, it
Like
did.
they
That
got
fourth quarter was
gifted
nice,
so
though.
many turnovers, and you're like the game, and then the Texans were able to take the lead in the game. Like,
Yeah.
how is that possible that you're winning
Well,
the
they
turnover battle?
Because the
It was
score was
24-23 at
2010
one
at
point.
halftime.
It was 2010 at halftime, and didn't they make it? I thought they took the lead by a point, or they cut it to 1 point. The Texans either took the lead by a point or cut it to 1 point.
I think they cut it to 1. I think no, I
But
think they did take the lead. It was
I think it was
24-23 Texans up.
Yeah, 24-23
Yep, it
because the
was.
Texans scored 2 touchdowns. And then what? They like kicked a field goal and then they scored a touchdown to like put it away or something. Because I know it got to 2 scores there. But it was just like almost embarrassing because it would be like they get the turnovers and it's like, hey, Drake May, do something. Given the weather was bad, right? But it's like, oh, 3 and out. I'm like, oh, come on. Oh, fumble. Oh, come on. So it's somewhat interesting. And I honestly think, and we're obviously going to get into this a little bit more, but it honestly kind of makes me, like that Broncos Patriots line is bought all the way down to 3.5 now. And a lot of books.
It's crazy you say that.
So
It's
we'll get
down
into
to
that
2.5 on DraftKings. But yeah, we'll
It's
get into that in a minute.
insane. I had a question
on the other
for
side.
you. Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
No.
My question for you is that Dan Orlovsky thing. 31 other quarterbacks would have won the game, is what he said. How many quarterbacks actually would have won that game if they played instead of CJ Stroud?
I texted you in the game and said Davis Mills should be in the game right now.
Don't hate it.
I said if Davis Mills is playing, Texans might win this game. So that's one quarterback, and he's not even a starter. realistically, CJ Stroud, he's probably without breaking it down player for player, CJ Stroud's probably a middle of the pack ranked quarterback, right? Anywhere from I could see anywhere from 13 to 20, right? Is probably what I'm realistically thinking. I could after this playoff series, you could convince me of 20 to 30, but realistically, yeah, I'd probably have after this playoff series, I could confidently say 25 quarterbacks are winning that game. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, because I think about it like if he would have only turned it over 2 times instead of 5, they win
Mm-hmm.
that game. Right? Like, how many guys, like, I mean, having 3 turnovers in a game is a bad game. Having 2 is not a good game. Having 5 is atrocious. Like, that is prime. He decided to show up in the playoffs and play like prime Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah.
Like, so bad. I felt so bad for that defense.
Jamarcus Russell. Yeah. No, I would say confidently 25 quarterbacks are probably winning that game, or at least putting them in a position to win that game. But let's jump onto the other side.
Okay.
We had Niners and Seahawks, another blowout. And, I was just disappointed in this one. And I haven't been high on the Niners all season. I think they have a great coaching staff. They have a great squad, but that squad is just diminished and riddled with injuries. I even saw the Christian McCaffrey and I believe Juszczyk. No, who am I thinking of? Anyways, CMC and another Niners player went to one of the Lakers games, and they go and who was it that got hurt? Like them being there, I just saw memes about them being there, and one of the NBA players got pretty hurt. Golly, I can't. My brain's brain fog right now. So it just goes to show the Niners are cursed with injuries, whether it's them or whoever they're watching, right? But yeah, that game wasn't close. Brock Purdy looked horrible. George Kittle being out obviously didn't hurt. And yeah, the Seahawks look scary.
Yeah, they're an absolute monster. I saw it's like the biggest, I think it was like the biggest blowout or biggest margin of victory, I think in the NFC playoffs, maybe ever or like last 30 years. Because obviously, I mean, they after that opening kickoff return touchdown, they could have literally never scored again and would have won the game. But yeah, it's brutal because it almost, I mean, it just like Sam Darnold didn't have to do much in the game. I think he only threw for like 120 yards, and they ran the ball at will with Kenneth Walker, which maybe get Zach Charbonnet getting hurt was a blessing because now you get Kenneth Walker touches out the wazoo. And that's a championship defense. So a championship defense that's well disciplined, well coached, that wins on special teams, that runs the ball well, and has an accurate passer that can deliver when need be. Like that's a winning formula. And man, they are scary. But yeah, poor Niners.
Yeah,
that
I know we've
substation
talked
got
about
them.
it a little bit too. But that Rashid Shaheed trade might be the greatest trade of all time. That was the biggest special teams touchdown of his career, and he keeps doing it where he's in crazy moments. But that came out and set the tone. I mean, you could argue the one against the Rams was his
That's what I was gonna say.
biggest one.
Spark the comeback.
Yeah, that one probably does because that put them in the position for this. But I mean, he's someone in big moments comes through and just clutches up these kick returns. So great trade on them. We've already talked about that. I do remember though, it was the Golden State Warriors, not the Lakers. Jimmy Butler tears his ACL.
Oh,
All
I
these
did
guys
see
are in
this.
attendance.
Yeah.
So just unfortunate. But anyways, yeah, Seahawks are scary. I want the Rams to be the team to make it through. I absolutely hate the Seahawks. And we got some homies that'll be chirping for sure if the Seahawks win. But I don't know. This is going to be a tough feat for Matt Stafford and the boys because what they're doing over in Seattle, that might be something special. I've been critical of Sam Darnold this season as far as will he be able to do it in the playoffs. And so far, I mean, through one game, he's looked phenomenal. So I think the team altogether has done a great job. And yeah, Niners are out. So we'll see what they do. Robert Saleh is probably out. Big things are probably going to be coming around, changing. Ayuk gone. We saw a little bit of the owner kind of just, or GM, excuse me, just being like, yeah, that was his last game played or whatever, or last minutes. We aren't seeing him in a Niners jersey anymore. Now I know you know how it is going to work this way. For those that are confused, Ayuk not going to be a free agent, yet they're very confident this is his last season. You know, I'll break that down for us.
Yeah, so the Niners, Ayuk obviously was hurt, and a lot of people thought he could potentially be back for week one, or like a little bit into the season was probably more realistic. Right, and there's even people that picked him up in fantasy thinking that he'd be a good play. Um, but what ended up happening is he wasn't really progressing as well as many thought he would. And it was partially because he's skipping team workouts, skipping team meetings. He'd apparently work out on his own. And it was just pretty disgruntled situation. So the Niners during the season voided all of his guaranteed money because they could, because he wasn't fulfilling the bare minimum of his contract. Like literally just show up and we'll pay you money. So the Niners are in a situation where now he signed that huge contract, but it doesn't penalize him as much because they avoided those future guarantees, so they can cut him pretty easily. But obviously, when you have a player like that you're paying $25 million a year, you kind of want to get something for him, you know, and especially because before they signed him, that season before he got hurt, they had some decent trade offers for him, and then they got no more value out of him, and they're staring down the barrel of having to cut him. So I think the Niners are gonna like maybe entertain somebody. And at this point with Ayuk, I mean he's probably worth a late round pick coming off of an injury. And with obviously the drama and divaness that he comes with. But I think other teams are gonna realize, hey, we don't even have to give them anything. He literally said that he's never playing another game in the Niners uni. So you're either going to cut him or you're just going to have to leave him on your roster and pay him and not play him. So, yeah, I think they might be able to get somebody that's like, no, we just want to not have to go through like battling other teams to get him. So we'll give up a sixth or seventh rounder that means absolutely nothing to us. That is probably going to be a player we cut anyways. That if you draft. So I think maybe somebody will give a sixth, seventh rounder just so that way they don't have to compete with other people. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he just gets cut altogether.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And yeah, he's a player that I don't think he's highly sought after at this point anyways. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And then we also had a good game, Rams Bears, in a game where it was close. We had an overtime game. Bears almost, right there surprising us. Chicago fans talking, oh, Iceman this, Iceman that. And I text you, right? It's a shame how much of a, excuse my language, prick Caleb Williams is off the field because he's sensational on the field, right? And if it wasn't for his off field behavior, the way he talks, he acts, I'd be a big fan because he's an absolute movie to watch. And he was killing it, but 3 turnovers total. That pick in the overtime moment where they had the chance, it was an ugly one. It was a bad one. And his great fourth quarter throw to get them to overtime isn't going to be talked about as much because of that overtime interception. But what'd you think of this game?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, the Bears, I don't really like them, and I think it's mainly because I don't really like Caleb Williams, and Ben Johnson's kind of bothersome. It's interesting that none of the other coaches really like him. But I know you used the word sensational to describe him. I wouldn't even necessarily say sensational. I would just say must watch TV. Like, he makes mistakes and his numbers are actually like relatively pretty similar to last year, and people wouldn't describe last year that well. But yeah, he's a big moment quarterback, right? He could look bad for 3 quarters, and then just when the game's on the line, he's great. Maybe that's where
That's fair. He's
that's where he's
sensational in the
sensational.
fourth quarter. Mm-hmm.
But anyways, to watch it, they're such a fun watch. Like there's not been many Bears games this season where you're like, that was a boring watch. Even when it's a low scoring bout, because right, like a bad movie that has an awesome ending, you end up kind of like feeling pretty good about it because it left you feeling good,
That's a
where an
good
awesome
analogy.
movie an awesome movie with a bad ending doesn't always end, doesn't always leave you feeling great. So he is literally the example of that, of the good ending, and it makes you feel good. And like, all the games that they've played, they're so much fun to watch. So shout out the Bears for that. If you didn't have any skin in the game, you weren't even betting it, at least it was interesting and an absolute fun watch. But you said it, Caleb Williams, 3 turnovers. If you look at the stats of when teams lose the turnover battle, their chances of winning are like, it is night and day difference. When you lose by 1, by 2, by 3, by 4, just changes the game completely. Like that's literally what the Eagles built their whole formula on, is like, we win games when we turn the ball over less. I literally think Nick Sirianni's like 42-3 when the Eagles win the turnover battle. It's like, it just makes it so much easier to win games. So um yeah, he kind of cost him the game. That throw was bad. I know everyone's dogging on DJ Moore on that one. I didn't really think so. I mean, I thought it was a bad throw, and maybe that's how
Well,
he's
he
supposed
and
to
he
run the
even
route.
he even kind of blamed DJ Moore in the post game.
Yeah, pretty lame. And to be honest, like it was stupid. I'm pretty sure. Correct me in the wrong in the comment if I'm wrong in the comments. I'm pretty sure it was 1st and 10. You needed about another 20 yards for field goal range. It's 1st and 10, and you're throwing the ball 35 yards down the field. Like, I don't blame if it's 3rd and 10. But on 1st and 10, it may have been 2nd and 10, but that's still, this argument holds valid. Like, take check downs, keep moving the ball. It's bad weather. Your guys are tired. They've been out on the field, marching down heroic comebacks. It's like don't
I
go
think
for
it
the
was
big
a
play
first and
when you,
10.
huh?
I think it was a first and
I'm
10.
pretty sure it was 1st and 10 because I think they just had that Caleb Williams run or something, or there's something on the sideline, closer to, the camera, closer on that
Yeah, I
side.
think they
And
just moved the ball because I remember thinking like, wow, they
I
actually
really
might
thought it
do
was
it.
pretty much over.
Yeah.
I literally placed a wager on the Bears before when overtime started, because I'm like, they have the momentum, and it was literally like a plus 110, and I'm like, dude, this is a coin flip game. And
Mm-hmm.
then um I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm winning this thing, and it was just, I'm like,
Poor
this is
guy.
great. And they're moving it, and then I'm like, Kayla, it's 1st and 10. Like if it was 3rd and 10 and he does that, I have no issues with it. First and
Right.
10, you don't put the ball there. Like that's a tight window throw. It was relying on your receiver to really, like, he had to really cut his route short, not like keep running on the path he was. A heck of a play by the DB, and obviously shout out to the Rams getting it done. But yeah, honestly, you just can't make that throw. But year 2, this is kind of what people wanted to see from Caleb. Obviously, looking better, showing up in big moments, and obviously the wow, sensational plays that we saw, obviously at Oklahoma and USC. So super fun to watch. The Bears will be back. That's a good team because they run the ball well. The defense is good, and it's only going to get better. That's going to be a tough team to beat for the next few years.
Yeah, and Ben Johnson's a hell of a coach. We've seen that. I mean, the jump from last year to this year is crazy. So I know Bears fan. I mean, I've seen it all over. You wish you could do the thing, but Bears fans are just ecstatic about how the season went. Nobody had expectations for this team to be competing in the divisional round against what looked like the scariest team in football just a few weeks ago.
One question for you. Now, this quarterback class could be go down as one of the best quarterback classes of all time potentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have Caleb
I
Williams,
think it
Jaden
will.
Daniels, Bo Nix, Drake May, right? Um, is that and then is that those are all the same ones, right? Caleb,
Yeah,
Drake, Bo, Jaden Daniels, and then what?
and you're
JJ
leaving out
McCarthy,
9.
and was Penix that one
Yeah,
too?
Michael Penix.
There was 6. Golly. Okay. Of
Yeah,
those,
dude.
I want you to rank those just off the dome. No
All the
preparation.
quarterbacks.
I just want you
Okay.
to gut
No
feeling.
preparation off the dome. Obviously, I mean, I'd be silly not to say Drake May won. This season's
That's fair.
MVP. 2. Dude. Here's the thing. Ask me this after last year. I mean, Jaden Daniels, but he's been hurt this year, and he hasn't looked great when he played. I don't know. It's weird
Banged
sophomore
up.
slump thing. Yes, yeah, but even when he played, he didn't look great.
He's
I'm
banged
gonna
up the
go
whole
Caleb
year.
Williams. We're gonna go Jaden Daniels 3.
Okay.
Who are the other 3?
Bo Nix, Michael Penix,
Oh,
and
that's right. And then
9.
Nix, Penix, and 9.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a terrible list, but the main one I'm shocked about is Knicks. Like, you're telling me you don't have Knicks lower? Like, I'd think 5 or 6.
No, you don't. You're just saying that.
I'm just playing.
I thought you were
I
going to say
honestly,
Nick's higher than
hey,
Daniels.
that's a little bit of recency bias though for Caleb. You're telling
Yeah,
me if
no,
you thought
I
if you
acknowledge that.
plugged
I said it's recency bias.
if you plugged in Jaden Daniels into Ben
But when you're
Johnson's
going off
offense
of
with those
when you're
weapons,
going off of a ranking of players who are 2 years old, you have to do recency bias.
yeah, but Jaden Daniels rookie, like if I literally pulled up the numbers between Jaden Daniels rookie season and Caleb's this season, Jaden Daniels just kills
No,
him. The only difference,
no, I know,
and Jaden
I know.
Daniels had big moments too. So that's why I give it to Jaden Daniels over him because Jaden Daniels had big moments like he did. They had all those crazy one score wins. He did it with worse coaching, a worse supporting cast. Right, the Commanders couldn't run the ball. The Bears were the second best running team in football, so you had a team that
Yeah,
could run the ball, and then he did it his rookie year, and he has over 100 passer rating, well above 60% completion percentage, where Caleb's like 84 passer rating, 56% whatever completion percentage, and it's like, and you had Ben Johnson, and you had DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden. I mean, they just had, you have Loveland and Cole Kmet, and you got two awesome backs, a great offensive line. Like, honestly, I think, and obviously it's always the hypothetical game is always fun to play, right? Like, like Herbert's like the hypothetical quarterback. Oh, if he had a line. But honestly, I truly believe that if you all else equals, I think Jaden Daniels is number 2. I think Drake is 1. Um, I mean, who
has to
knows? You
be.
could even make an argument for either Daniels or Williams being 1. I mean, Drake May has only had one good year,
No,
and he's only played
no.
what? He's only
He
beat.
played well last year when he
I mean,
played.
they won 4 games. So
Yeah, the
it's
team
not
was
exactly.
garbage. And who were they coached by?
Jaden Daniels' team was garbage last year, and they won a lot more.
No, they were garbage this year.
They were garbage last year too. That
No,
defense was so bad last year. That defense gave up 55 points in the NFC Championship
I know,
game.
but
And the week
they
prior,
made
they
it
gave up
all
like 40
exactly. They made it to the NFC Championship game. You
because
can't
they had
say
an
a team's
amazing quarterback.
garbage that makes it there.
Well, they could get carried. This Niners team was essentially the players were garbage, and they made it to the divisional round
Yeah, Brock
because
Purdy
of
wasn't very
awesome
good.
coaching.
So yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that one maybe you could say was more good coaching, and I mean, I guess Purdy played well up until like the last 3 games. But
The Commanders' coaching staff is and was way better than the Patriots' coaching staff at the time.
no,
Yes. Yes.
The Commanders just fired their OC and their DC and their
Okay.
and their
First of
head
all,
coach.
they
And their
fired
coach.
their OC because the team sucked this year. That was a stupid firing. We all know that. Don't even. We all
Mike
know that.
Vrabel was the head coach last year.
No, it wasn't. This is his first season.
Sure. That's true. Well, that's because they had that awesome Gerard Mayo.
Yeah, exactly.
Gerard Mayo was awesome.
Exactly. Garbage.
Yeah, that's fair. But
and,
I mean, the coaching
and Drake May came in almost halfway through the season.
The coaching wasn't 8 wins better. It's not like the coaching was like, oh my goodness, that's worth 8 extra.
Yeah, but you also got to remember Drake May didn't start the season.
I know, because he wasn't even good enough to start.
No, stop it. All right, let's move on. Mr. Just Drake May hater.
Question. One question for you, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
The Patriots, if they win the Super Bowl, is this the equivalent of the Lakers COVID championship?
No. Way different.
No, okay. I actually think it's worse. I think the Lakers one might actually be more real. The Patriots have the easiest schedule in 27 years of any team. Okay? And then their playoffs
I know, but if they win the Super Bowl, they're going to have to beat a gauntlet team.
No, their playoffs go. So they have the easiest schedule in 27 years, and
Chargers,
then they go
Texans,
Justin Herbert
Broncos,
with
number 1 seed,
no offensive line, right? Because they're out their 2 top tackles and whatnot.
CJ Stroud, who was the top quarterback of his draft class.
CJ Stroud turns the ball over to you 5 times.
Best defense in the league,
and they were without Nico Collins and their starting tackle. So no Nico, no starting tackle for them, and CJ gives it to you 5 times. Okay. And then now you get to play Jarrett
the number
Stidham,
1 seed, who has the 3rd best defense.
There's never been a quarterback to make less starts before at a championship game. He hasn't even had. This is going to be his 4th start.
I won't stand for your for your
And
Patriots hate,
then
your Drake
and
May
then you go
hate.
to the Super Bowl and just watch what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams win. It's like all of a sudden they, Matthew Stafford's back's hurting again, and all of a
Hey, I'll
sudden
tell
they
you
get
this
Jimmy
much right
G.
now. If Drake May wins the Super Bowl, you're gonna see a Drake May jersey here, a Patriots helmet here, and we'll have a Boston Celtics jersey right here. All right.
Straight bandwagon, everybody.
No, I'm just kidding. Don't call me a
So
bad bandwagon. Look at the teams I like.
you know what's crazy is, yeah, I don't know. It's just the fact that like it's like both teams from the, even though you would think that the Patriots have a way better chance to make it to the Super Bowl, both teams from the NFC have a higher odds to win the Super Bowl.
It is actually crazy because I haven't looked at the odds yet, but I'm guessing the Seahawks are favored to beat the Rams. So it is crazy that they even have a higher chance than the Patriots.
I think whoever wins the NFC Championship game will be favorites by, I would say, neutral fields, obviously. So um I would say that they're going to be favorites by at least 4.5 points, which is that's a lot in a Super Bowl in a neutral field.
Yeah, no,
Over
it is for sure.
if it's the Broncos, they might be 7-point favorites.
And we'll get into some preview here in a second. Last game, we got to talk about it. The heartbreaker for all
We don't have to talk about
it of Buffalo Nation. Josh Allen crying. Who was it crying as well? The DB.
Oh, what's his name?
Yeah, I can't think of it. Off the top of it.
Tre'Davious White.
Thank you. Yeah, crying after it's controversial about them crying. The one that should be crying is Sean McDermott. But and a little bit of stuff going crazy. The Bills ownership talking. Before we get into that, let's get into this game. First of all, great game, and I talked about it earlier. If it was rigged, the Bills would have won, right? Now, my initial thoughts, and I know you felt the same, was that was a catch by Brandon Cooks, right? A week later, do you still feel that way?
I feel more so it was a catch.
Yeah.
I saw a play, and I'm gonna send it to you. It was a T. Higgins catch. It is literally the exact same play. If not, it's less of a catch. And they ruled it a catch for T. Higgins when the DB essentially took it away. And that's the only, like, I've never ever seen it go to the DB. Like, essentially, Ty has always gone to the receiver in those situations. This is like the first scenario that I can think of where they gave it to the DB. So I think that's what bothers me. Like, when you look at the play, it almost kind of looks like an interception with how quick it all happens. But the issue is
super quick.
But the issue is if it's happened every single time the other way, it can't happen for the first time, especially in the playoffs. It has to be something that you're like, look, maybe we need to revisit how this is officiated. It's like the Tuck rule, like it was never a penalty, and then all of us, and then it happens in the Super Bowl and they officiate it correctly because that's how it's always been, right? If you're tucking the football, right, even if your hand's moving forward, then it's an incomplete pass, even if it doesn't really look like you're throwing a pass because your hand's moving forward. So they're like, well, that's the rule, even though it clearly shouldn't be that way. They revisited it and they got rid of the tuck rule. So now if you're tucking it, it's a fumble. So I think it's just one of those, you just can't do it there. And I hate the argument. It's the stupidest thing I've heard. Well, it shouldn't matter. Don't turn it over 5 times or 4 times or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, that doesn't, just because you've turned it over 4 or 5 times doesn't mean now all of a sudden, oh, you don't deserve the win of the game. We'll make bad calls because you don't deserve it. I hate that.
I actually wanted to get into that real quick, because I agree. It should have stayed a catch, or it should have been a catch. And I was at a sports bar watching this with a buddy that we had bet on. He's a Broncos fan, so I put money on against him on the Bills. And I says to him, I go, what do you think? He goes, that's a catch. And he's a Broncos fan, right? And I says to him, I go, it's so fast that it looks like an interception, but it's always been Ty goes to receiver. And he survived the ground, right, Chase? He came down, he was on the ground, on his
On the
back, ball
ground
in hand,
with
and then it's
possession.
ripped out. And so I've seen it's been really controversial, right? We've seen all the sports shows talking about it.
Yeah.
But if you're looking rule by rule, which I don't know why they didn't look at it longer, this was the fastest replay review I've
Oh.
ever seen in my
And it's
life.
change of possession. You have so much time to review it. It's not like the Bills are hurrying up to go get on the line of scrimmage to call it, so you don't have time. Like, oh
They'll take
man,
2 hours to measure the football on like a 4th and inches, but they'll take 30 seconds on this call. I don't get
change
it.
of
But
possession, overtime in the playoffs. Yeah, yeah,
biggest
sure.
moment of the game, easily. And we're just gonna breeze right through it. I don't get it. I know you don't get it. It's a frustrating moment for Bills fans, anyone rooting for the Bills. Um, but yeah, let's get into where you're kind of going with it. So, the big conversation right now is, all the Bills fans are mad because that obviously costed them the game, regardless of the turnovers. If that play goes their way, they win the football game. Everybody else is saying, well, you shouldn't have these turnovers, right? Blah, 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 which I agree. I agree in the sense that you can't blame the refs entirely for this game. There was a lot of moments where Josh Allen, he's trying to do too much, being Superman. We talked about it on the phone, right? Right at the end of the second quarter, all you have to do is take a knee and you win this game probably. But instead, you try to rush, which doesn't make sense. He gets 10 yards, right? And then he fumbles it. They get what, 3 points going into the half. So that really hurt them. The 4 turnovers, obviously, I mean, the Bills lost this game, right? But you can't argue that against this call. You can't say, well, because you had these turnovers, this call doesn't change things, because it does. And so I know a lot of people are mad about Bills fans, every year saying it's rigged, right? Blah, blah, blah. It's the other way. This call, you can't miss, right? And so it is frustrating. And I get both sides. I get what both sides are saying. But to say that because you had these turnovers, you don't deserve this call is just blasphemy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think you can blame the refs, but it's obviously shared blame, right? Because obviously, if Josh Allen didn't do that stupid thing, they had 16 seconds left, zero timeouts, and they're on like
And
their
we
own
haven't even
whatever
gotten into the PI calls.
30. Oh, yeah. I mean, and obviously you can obviously look at games and blame the refs, but the PI ones were bad. The worst one is that I could see how someone's like, yeah, those are PI, but then you
No, I
missed the
get it on
one
the Bills side.
you missed the one in the end zone, right, where they threw like a deep ball. I think it was like Cooks also, or I
Hmm.
can't remember who it was, and it was in the end
And that's
zone, and
my
it was
issue
like,
with it,
yeah, it's just
is
the
it wasn't both
inconsistency of
ways.
it. So I think you can blame the refs. The 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 Bills for sure players deserve some blame. Like James Cook fumbling, like come on, man, you led the league in fumbles this year. That can't happen. Josh Allen, 16 seconds left. No timeouts. There's hardly any chance you get in a field goal range, and especially when you run the ball. If you run the ball, you're essentially impossible now. You had to throw it and it had to get out of bounds. And so he's running it. And it's like, dude, there's gonna be like 3 seconds left, and you're gonna be like 70 yards out still. It'd be like an 80-yard field goal. Just stupid of him to fumble, and then they gave him 3 points, and that ended up being the difference in the game, right? Wouldn't have gone to overtime. That final kick for the Bills in regulation would have been to win it. Um, but yeah, it's heartbreaking. I don't know how you're a Bills fan. It seems, or like anybody is a Bill fan. It's not you specifically, but anybody listening, I don't understand how you could possibly be a Bills fan. It's heartbreak every single year. It seems like there's officiating drama every single year. Oh, and one more thing on that catch. This is how I know it was for sure a catch. Is imagine hypothetically he grabs that ball, right? Grabs that ball, goes down, right? Body part hits in bounds, and then he like barely slides out of bounds. Like that's a catch. And then it gets stolen away from him. Like that's a catch. So, because it was a catch at some point. And yeah, it's just sad that it ended up that the Bills obviously put them in that situation where they needed an overtime win and needed to rely on the refs to actually do their job. But absolutely brutal. I saw Kyle Van Noy, former BYU Cougar, by the way. Let's go. He's obviously a defensive end right now for the Ravens,
Yeah.
and has won a couple Super Bowls with the Patriots. But he said on Pat McAfee's show that what we need is the refs need to have post game interviews. Has to. There has to start being some level of accountability. Like I've seen people like, oh, you got to fine the refs for bad calls. Like I don't necessarily think that, but they need to be responsible for getting up there and telling us exactly what they saw. And I almost wouldn't mind if they started like almost, I mean, but I guess if they're owning up to stuff, then people are going to be like, well, now they've totally like, you know, calling into question the integrity of the game and the win, and oh, we need to, reverse the ruling or whatever. But I think they need to have post game interviews. That way, there's a level of accountability,
or
right?
at
Where
least
someone has to
fines.
go up, someone has to go up there, someone has to go up there and be like, this is why we ruled that an interception. They can give their reasoning, and then that's what we have to live with, right? But that way, there's a little bit, because right now, a ref makes a bad call. Who care? They don't even care. Like, they literally just get to go and leave, and oh, we'll go coach another game. No one really remembers who it was. They don't really put a face to it because it's the guy that threw the flag isn't the guy that announcing it, and he never has to. We don't even know his name. We don't even know. Like, there needs to be a level of accountability with your job. You can't just always perform bad and then never ever have to answer for that. You're just like, oh, next week, be better next time. No, you need to get in
So
front of the media and be berated. So that way you realize next time you're in that situation that I need to make sure I'm performing at my best as well.
so I got a question for you, and then we'll move on. Because every time they go to a challenge or a replay review, there's always the replay analytics guy, right? I don't think I've ever disagreed, whether it was for or against my team, what the analytics guy says. I don't think I've ever disagreed with the way he's broken down the way the call should go, and on his opinion on what way the call stands. Um, why don't the refs rely? Why do we have to rely on the refs watching it on a screen? Right, a lot of pressure, couple minutes. You don't have a long time to analyze, break it down. Why do we rely on these guys who they're in high pressure moments? Why not rely on the analytic guy to be in
Yeah,
there?
and I'd say maybe because that guy gets a little bit extra time, and a lot of times it's like after they've already made the decision that they bring that guy up there. I think maybe it's like a time issue. But when it's this big of situations, like at least for the playoffs, I totally agree with you. It needs to be a little bit more thorough. Like, it can't be that quick. It can't be to the point where you're like, well, yeah, we don't really know why this is. Like, it has to be some level of accountability. And I agree with you. For the playoffs, it needs to be something more. You know, I don't necessarily mind if it's in the regular season and they do whatever their play is, because they also have headsets and they're
Hmm.
listening to somebody that's in New York that's like
Yeah.
giving them a little bit of feedback on the play and say, hey, we think it's this, we think it's that. So they watch it on the screen, but they also hear from people. But I
Okay.
think the reason we don't quite get the same level is because of the overall speed, right? Where they have time constrictions on games for TV and their ads and making sure the next game's not running over or under. So I think it's just mainly time. But for the playoffs, there's too much money on the line, right? For the Bills, not moving on and potentially winning a Super Bowl is $100 million mistake for them and their franchise,
Yeah.
and a lifelong
Um.
of pain for a bunch of people. So big time bummer,
We,
but it is
yeah.
what it
No, I
is.
agree. We got to move on, Bills fans. I'm sorry for your loss. Um. Before we get into the preview, real quick, we got a lot of coaching changes going on. Um, let's break down just a little bit. We'll take 5-10 minutes. Um, I'll start it off with Jesse Minter is now the Ravens head coach, former defensive coordinator for the Ravens when he first started. I thought this was an interesting pickup, though. Chargers defense hasn't looked great. He was their former DC. But yeah, I mean, you probably know more. You're a lot more into these deeper sides of coaching staffs football than I am. I'm kind of, you know, a visual. I kind of go off of everything I see. But what's your thoughts on this hiring?
Um, I like it. I don't necessarily think it's like the biggest home run hire, because I think the biggest thing the Ravens have been missing, it's almost like pretty similar to the Bills, where it's just like those like moments, that they're just not coming up big on.
Some
So I just don't
offensive
really know how you
creativity, maybe.
hire I don't know how you hire a coach for that. But what I do like is they have so much talent on defense. Like every year, it's like, oh, we got 4 or 5 Pro Bowlers on defense, but they're never ever a top defense. And so I think getting a defensive coordinator that's proven himself as a good defensive coordinator is probably the right move to hopefully get more out of those defenses. So you can maybe be like the Bears, where you're always in every game, or the Texans, and you just need like somewhat decent quarterback play or decent offense to the point where you can win a lot of games. And I think that's both. Obviously, I think that's why it's a good hire for the um,
The Ravens.
for the Ravens. And I mean, we'll end up seeing how it goes. But honestly, I think that's also why, and segueing kind of into the Bills, why the Bills fired Sean McDermott. Like he won a lot of games, but if you look at how they won, they were always losing in the playoffs, like with the offense scoring like 30 points. And Sean
Yeah.
McDermott was a defensive coordinator. He's a defensive guy. And it was usually the defense that let you down. Like if you look, obviously Josh Allen had not a great game this last week, but you look at his playoff numbers are better than Patrick Mahomes's. Like just if you look at the numbers, right?
Yeah,
Like
crazy
Josh
numbers.
Allen has played well enough to be in Super Bowls, win Super Bowls, but it's always like, oh, how'd you guys lose? Well, we lost 35-38 to the Chiefs. And you're like, the defense gave up 38? And it's like, oh, what's your head coach? Well, he's a defensive coordinator. And you can't get the defense right? Like, I think
Well,
that's
even
why he was
this
fired.
last game against the Broncos,
They
they
scored
gave
30 and they
up.
lost. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They gave up, yeah, 30 in regulation, 33 in overtime. I
to a
still,
Broncos team that hasn't been great on
yeah,
offense too.
the Raiders held them to 10 points. The Jets held them to like 10 points. Like it's yeah, you can't be giving up that many to this Broncos team. And I get they turned it over a lot, but still it's that defense has to be playing better. So although I think Sean McDermott's a good coach, I don't think he was like the Bills can't be keep doing the same thing every single year and expect a different result, right? That's the definition of insanity. So I actually have come to a conclusion that the Sean McDermott firing was I'm leaning towards it being slightly the right move. I don't necessarily think it would have been the wrong move to keep him. But I just think it's one of those where they just need something else. Now, I do think that the Bills can totally hire somebody that will be worse than Sean McDermott for that team, but I also do think that they can definitely improve. And based off that owner and kind of what he's decided to do with promoting the GM who has been not good and some of the decisions they've made, I pretty much am believing that the Bills are going to hire somebody worse for the team than better. Like, especially with some of the people that they're interviewing, I'm like, are we being serious?
Yeah,
you know?
no, I agree. Um,
So,
yeah, and I asked you a hypothetical last week on last week's show. If Bills lose, does Sean McDermott get fired? So, it wasn't out of the realm of possibility. And another heartbreaker there, but the another hiring we have was Stefanski going to Atlanta,
I
and
don't,
Baker Mayfield, he had some to say about it. So we'll have that awesome rivalry. Obviously Stefanski coached Baker when he was in Cleveland. Um, so they kind of have a negative relationship there. But what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, Baker responding to that, like, I like Baker. Like,
Yeah.
Baker's fun to watch. He's cool. He's fiery, intriguing. But that was the stupidest thing of him to respond to that. He didn't respond to anything that Stefanski said. It was a tweet that a reporter that has been known to like bait people into stuff said that he didn't have good quarterback play essentially, like,
Mm-hmm.
or trash quarterback play or whatever. um and so he's like, Stefanski now has an opportunity or something. And then Baker like responds to that. Like he didn't even respond to anything Stefanski said. Like it's not Stefanski didn't say, "Oh, like finally I have a good opportunity, to coach a really good quarterback or to be in like finally have like
Which,
my
by the
guy or
way,
whatever."
he's going to be coaching Michael Penix. It's not
Yeah,
like this is some stud
well,
quarterback.
yeah, well, and Stefanski never even said anything.
That's what I
And then
mean.
Baker's responding to a reporter that's like, I mean, that would be like, oh, like I don't know. It just seems like it's so high school drama to go and
Yeah.
respond to something that like somebody's baiting you into say. And Stefanski probably maybe doesn't even feel that way. Like he wasn't even. I just think Baker was a little bit upset, apparently, that Stefanski like never even reached out to him after he left. But it's like, dude, it's a business. I think Stefanski's a good hire.
I like it a lot.
I mean, he won what 11 games with like Joe Flacco that one year, who obviously is
Yeah.
good or whatever. Um, and I think it was you can't. I mean, it's the Browns. Like, you can't hate on him for what the situation was last year. Like, that was, I don't care who's coaching it, they're not going to be winning games. So I think he's a good coach. I obviously think they have a lot of pieces on offense. I do think they need to figure out their quarterback because Michael Penix is made of glass. Like, he has, like, whatever, 6 fake ACLs now. And,
Mhm.
but they have a lot of talent and they definitely could improve. And it would be fun to see the Falcons be good again. So I like that one. Um, what are some of the other ones we have? Oh, just broke the Mike McCarthy to the Steelers.
Oh
That
yes, that
one's
was this morning.
so interesting. Is Aaron Rodgers going to stay now that
I
his
know
old
Steelers
buddy's
fans aren't
back?
happy about that.
Yeah, I don't. I wouldn't love it if I'm a Steelers fan. Because for a couple reasons. A, you're just extending this Aaron Rodgers thing, which I don't mind because I think if Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers are there, like they'll probably finish 9-8 and sneak into the playoffs, or 10-7. Like
Classic
it'll be similar to
Steelers.
this season, you know. I just don't think it's going to be a. I just don't think it's like a
It's not a
Super Bowl
silly
winning
razor.
move, and you're just kicking the can down the road to the inevitable of, hey, we need a quarterback. Now you could argue, I guess, is there anything out there better you can get? But you might as well try to develop a guy and see what you have. Like all the time you see guys like, oh, this Brock Purdy guy ended up turning out to be pretty good, or Dak Prescott, who was a 4th round guy. Oh, he ended up being pretty good. And all the time you kind of see some of these guys pan out that, you would never have known if you would have just kept kicking the can down the road. Like we've seen this Aaron Rodgers thing. Like, yeah, he's still good, but I mean, he's no better than an average quarterback at this point in the NFL that won't be around here for sure, not after next season, but he might be coming back for this season. So that one was a little bit weird. And then we had Robert Sala to the Titans. Um, I love it for the Titans. I think it's stupid of Robert Sala, who we know had one opportunity with the
Yeah,
Jets
I
and
agree.
not really a fair shot, but he performed well with what he had. I'm pretty sure like Zach Wilson almost had like a winning record with Robert Sala there. At least in
Mm-hmm.
that first season,
50
I
fit.
think he
It was
did,
like right around 500 at least.
which is unbelievable. And that
Mm-hmm.
defense was one of the top defenses in the league, and they were in every game. And now obviously we see the Jets defense is horrible. Like what he did there was awesome. What he did with the Niners last year was awesome. Like he is an
Uh,
amazing coach. It's rare you get 2 failed experiments and then get a third. I'm just worried that this Titans team doesn't quite have the pieces to win now. I think Cam Ward's good.
I
We're going to
know. I
find
think
out how
Salah put
good.
himself in another spot like he was in
Like
the Jets, where it's like,
like if I'm him, go get the Bills job, which I know wasn't
mhm.
available at the time. Go get the Ravens job, right? Like I think he could have gotten the Ravens job. If you ask me right now, would the Ravens have rather had Robert Sala or Jesse Minter? I'm thinking they'd rather have Robert Sala. Go get that Ravens job. Like you can
After what he
win
did this
games.
season, especially.
You can win games with the Ravens. Like you could be in the playoffs, be relevant, and have somewhat of a successful stint to the point where you'll get a third opportunity. I'm just worried if he gets 2 seasons, say, with the Titans and they win 4 or 5 games just because the roster's so bad. And Cam Ward ends up being a little bit too turnover prone, a little bit too careless with the ball, and it puts them in bad situations. And they're like, yeah, we're going to have to fire you again. And then now all of a sudden, all he can be the rest of his career is essentially a defensive coordinator, and he might have to wait 10, 15 years for his next shot. So I
I
love it for the
agree.
Titans. I can't believe they were able to get him out of there because I think it's one of the, on like the scale of jobs, it's probably better than the Browns. That's about all I might have it better than. Um, and so I just didn't love it. I mean, I guess they're getting a new stadium in a couple years, which looks pretty cool. So maybe he liked that. And Nashville's not a bad place to
That's
live,
true.
but
The last one we'll talk about real quick, and then we're gonna do predictions and get out of here. We have oh frig, now I'm spacing.
trying to think of the last one. The
Mike
Giants.
McDaniel.
Oh,
No, I think we talked Harbaugh last week.
yeah, I think we did too. That one
Mike
was early.
McDaniel hired as the OC for the LA Chargers, but he's still taking meetings to be a head coach. So a little bit of drama there. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I think for LA, I mean, that's a great hiring if you can keep him. That's going to be huge. Maybe he can unlock Herb. He hasn't been able to unlock Tua, so we'll see what happens there.
No, that's a great hiring, and I respect him obviously for um or been the Chargers for letting him continue to look, and I think that's smart because obviously that Bills job opening up, like that's almost a dream job. Other than the fact you got to live in Buffalo, which I heard one of the biggest reasons he chose the Chargers was because of L.A. He's a West Coast kid. He's from Colorado, which I guess is probably still considered the West, maybe not West Coast, but West, and his wife's from
Mhm.
LA. So that's why they went, and I heard that was a big factor. And then obviously it's a good job, they're going to get those two tackles back healthy. But the issue with it, and this is what when the Eagles have been searching, I think Mike McDaniel's is the best hire for a 1 year team that needs to win now. But the issue is if I think the Chargers are going to look good on offense, and he's going to probably go get a head coaching job next offseason if he doesn't get one with the Bills this season, or you know. So I really do think that the only issue is then the Chargers are in the situation where next year they're trying to find a new OC, because Mike McDaniel's probably going to be gone. Like that's a 1 year guy. So and it's always hard switching out coordinators. Like it's the best case is when you get a guy that's good that doesn't have any head coaching opportunities. Like I think the Patriots, part of why they're so good now is they have Josh McDaniels as the OC, who's already failed, I think, twice as a head coach. And he's a good OC, but he's not getting any like job opportunities because it's failed twice already. So now they have a perennial good OC. I think it's with the Eagles with their defense. Like Vic Fangio, he's up for assistant coach of the year again this year. He was up for it again last year. And he's not getting any head coaching stuff because he's already failed as a head coach. And now he's just going to be a perennial good defensive coordinator that we're not worried about leaving. So, yeah, that's one thing that I do think is a little bit tough when you're like, oh, we want Mike McDaniel. Well, the only issue is you're putting yourself in that boat again next year where you're looking for another OC. So that's the only issue with getting those top candidates is you usually don't get them long.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, that's head coaching stuff for now. We'll get into the rest of it once it's kind of wrapping up and all that. Let's get into previews. So right now, as it goes on sportsbooks, Seattle Seahawks -2.5 against the Rams. That's the 4:30 East, or 6:30 Eastern time games. And then we have the Patriots at a -3.5. That's the 3 o'clock Eastern time game. So I want to pick an underdog to win. Who, if you're looking at these two teams, which underdog would you say you have? I think I know what your answer is going to be, but which one do you think will win?
So I think the more likely one to win is the Rams. But
Oh, okay.
I'm picking both dogs to win. I've been thinking about more and more. My thing for the Rams, I'll start there. We've watched them play twice. Both times Sam Darnold didn't perform well, right? He kind of performed well towards the end of the second one, but it was 30-14 with 8 minutes left in Seattle. And obviously he did, but if Rashid Shaheed didn't return that punt for a touchdown, right? The Rams win that one and win it in convincing fashion, right? You're up. You've doubled their score with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Like, that's usually a lock. And so they lost that one. The first time they obviously won at home, and that one was because almost the Seahawks looked like the better team, but Sam Darnold just turned it over a bunch of times. This one, I think the Rams are a tough team to kill. I think they haven't really played their best football the last couple weeks. I think last week they would have played better, but the weather just wasn't good. I think they're going to be the team to win because they've proven that they can put up points on the Seahawks. And I'm not going to bet on Sam Darnold to win in a shootout when the quarterback on the other side is Matthew Stafford. So that's my reason one for the Rams. Okay. Now, on the other side, the reason that I have the Broncos is the Patriots don't know how to beat the backup quarterback. Nick Foles. Let's not forget, he was there to take down Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. And now here it is. Patriots staring down again. Oh, we got an easy one. We get to play Nick Foles in the Super Bowl. We're 6.5-point favorites or 5.5, whatever they were in that Super Bowl. And now they're like, oh, we get Jarrett Stidham. Jarrett Stidham is better than Bo Nix. You wish Bo Nix was still starting. If Bo Nix was starting, I'd pick the Patriots. But Stidham's like that. A lot of teams have wanted him, tried to trade for him. It was Sean Payton's first signing when he was when he became the coach of the Broncos. He wanted him. He's his guy. I think part of him thought maybe Bo Nix wouldn't work out, and he's like, at least I got Stidham. He's a goat. And what I think is going to happen, I'm already painting this picture in my mind of how awesome this is going to be. Jarrett Stidham's going to put on a gem of performance now. He's going to win the Super Bowl, be Super Bowl MVP. By the way, he's plus, I think, 1,900 to be Super Bowl MVP on DraftKings. Free money. Go put $100 on it. You got now $2,000 total. And what do the Broncos do in the offseason? Do they bench Super Bowl MVP Jarrett Stidham? Or do they bench the future Bo Nix? I can't wait for that drama. That's what I'm rooting for. Jarrett Stidham, Super Bowl MVP, getting it done, lock it in. That defense is what's won them all these games, and now all of a sudden you're going to see a real quarterback slinging the football. How about that?
I loved that little tangent you just went on. You actually, first of all, you're probably the biggest Bo Nix hater I've ever met. But
up there.
We just barely talked about how this draft class might be one of the greatest of all time. Yet you hate on every quarterback in it. Drake May, you've hated on. Caleb Williams, you hate. Bo Nix, you hate. Michael Penix, you just talked about him being made of glass with fake ACLs. You hate 9. You have Jaden Daniels, which I haven't heard you.
I said it potentially has. I think right now Drake May is in an awesome situation. Right? That coach is great. Their offensive coordinator is great. It's a well-run organization. They're going to have a lot of opportunities. I think Jaden Daniels, of all the quarterbacks, actually might be the most talented. And the Commanders have a new ownership. They're getting a new stadium. I think that they're going to be better. So they're going to have a lot of opportunities. Caleb Williams is in arguably the best spot a quarterback could be in. Right now, if you look at all the jobs and you're like, which job would I want to be? I mean, I would normally say the Niners, but you just know their issue with the injuries. So the second best is probably maybe the Rams or the Bears, with how good they awesome offensive line, run the ball really well, good defense, maybe one of the best offensive minds. Like, I want to be a quarterback for that team. So I think they're just going to have the opportunity to be put in those conversations where I wouldn't be surprised if, the Bears end up winning a Super Bowl, if the Patriots could literally get it done this year, the Broncos, Sean Payton, unbelievable defense, second best offensive line in football, great running game. It's like they're going to be winning Super Bowls. So I think as far as like how many Super Bowls these guys can win is going to be up there, and they're going to be putting themselves in those conversations. And you'll just always have to ask yourself, were they winning because of this player, or were they just, this guy was essentially just the quarterback on the team? It's like when I look at like the Eagles last year that won the Super Bowl, they didn't win the Super Bowl because of Jalen Hurts, right? They won the Super Bowl because they were an awesome team.
Super Bowl MVP, shout out to him.
Football. They ran the football really well, and Jalen Hurts was a good quarterback. I'm not saying none of those guys are good, but like there's a reason that nobody now is like, Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback. Like, he can't even get I think people are like still putting Jalen Hurts as like the third or fourth best quarterback in his class.
Have you seen Interstellar?
Yeah.
The end scene where he's like looking through the bookshelf at his past self, talking to his daughter. You idiot! All that,
Yeah.
Your future you was watching you make those picks. I think it's fun. Because I was thinking about maybe leaning Broncos. I've faded the Patriots no, I took them against the Chargers, but I faded them last week because of the storylines. And I think I'm seeing a lot of these storylines. They're hyping up everybody, right? Jared Stidham, the Broncos, they're going to do it, right? Take down this team that, has had an easy schedule. I'm going to stick with the Patriots here, though. I think it's going to be one of those things where everyone's excited about the Broncos, just like everyone was excited about the Bills maybe being their season. And so I'm going to stick with the Patriots here. My ideal matchup is for them to see the Rams in the Super Bowl. You know what it reminds me of, Chase? It's a little reminiscent. We go back to 2021, where Matt Stafford takes down sophomore Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl. To me, that's cinema. You have a rerun where you have a sophomore quarterback, sophomore quarterback, NFL MVP against Matt Stafford, runner-up MVP. I mean, as far as odds go. And Matt Stafford takes down Drake May in the Super Bowl. That would be cinema to me because he does it again. And I think, I'm a big Matt Stafford fan. I want him to be as high up there on the list as he can be. And I think it would be really electric and exciting to have not a rematch, because obviously Joe Burrow's not here, but almost like a reminiscent rematch of the Super Bowl in 2021.
I like it. And for all the listeners out there, I think one thing that I know a lot of people, maybe this wasn't their dream teams that were here. I think a lot of people wanted to see the Bills still around. Maybe some people wanted to see, Purdy eventually get one done. I think the NFC people were pretty much happy with these two teams. Or maybe they're happy
Yeah,
with the
I
Rams.
haven't seen a lot of slack about it, but the AFC's
But
been rough.
I've seen a lot of people hating on the Bill, no Lamar, no Burrow, everybody hates Patrick. So, but anyways, there is a good scenario and story for all these. Jarrett Stidham winning the Super Bowl. I know for a lot of people, you're not a real fan. If you don't think that that would be cool, you're not a fan of the game, right? So that would be a cool story. Drake May finishing second in MVP, and just being like this new uprising team, like that would be good, right? Like that would be fun to see. Matthew Stafford winning winning now two-time Super Bowl champion, winning it the same year he wins MVP, like that instantly puts him in top 10 quarterback conversations of all time, which is so cool to think that he spent whatever it was 10 plus seasons with the Lions in a failing organization, and he still has come out to just have, like, obviously when he's 38 years old, he's playing better than he was earlier just because he's in a good situation. That would be an awesome story. Sam Darnold being kicked to the curb from the Vikings. We don't even want you. We know you won 14 games and you led us to the playoffs. We don't even think you're worth re-signing. We want to go with 9. And he goes over there. Nobody thinks it's possible, right? They're projected to finish third in their own division. Like, yeah, we get you won 14 games, but come on. That was kind of fluky. That was because of the team. It was because of Kevin O'Connell. And he goes over and does it with the Seahawks as well. Like, that's a good story as well. And some of the matchups you can even make good stories. Like, number 1, number 2 in MVP voting going up against each other, right? Like, however, if Drake May wins or Stafford wins, like those guys would be 1 and 2. That's a great story as well. Super Bowl rematch, Seahawks Broncos, awesome. Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl rematch. Like, there's so many good stories, so much to be excited for. So as a football fan, I am just stoked out of my mind for how it could shake up. So
It is going to be a movie. If can you see me? Okay, there we go.
I can.
If you've made it this far, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, help us grow the channel. And until next time, we out. Peace.
Mm-mm-mm.